The Trump protest at the Capitol yesterday is already being used as a pretext for an unprecedented crackdown on civil liberties. Just in the last several hours, we have heard people in positions of power and authority demand that those who support Donald Trump should no longer be allowed to publish books or use the internet or fly on airplanes. Driving cars, holding jobs, staying in hotels, those will certainly be next, and we're barely exaggerating. Business leaders demanded that Trump be removed from office immediately under the 25th Amendment. Members of Congress clamored to impeach Donald Trump. At least one Democrat suggested that anyone in Congress who supported Donald Trump's claims of election fraud must be expelled. Meanwhile, the media said about denouncing Donald Trump as a terrorist and a murderer, etc. We could go on, but that's a rough recap of the last 24 hours. What do you notice about every news story on that list? They're all about Donald Trump, every one of them. The people in charge of every institution in American life now spend all day talking about Donald Trump. You may not have noticed because that's not very different from any other day over the past 5 years. Since the moment he announced for office, it has been all about Donald Trump all of the time. And the effect on us has been noticeable. We've gone from being this big, sprawling continental country with an enormous span of concerns and interests to a kind of sweaty, airless chat room of 330 million people, all of whom are simultaneously focused with monomaniacal intensity on a single man, Donald Trump. That is not healthy, no matter how you feel about Trump.
Contrast Biden's divisive tone with a real president.
We have just been through an intense election, and emotions are high. But now tempers must be cooled and calm restored. A new administration will be inaugurated on January 20th. My focus now turns to ensuring a smooth, orderly, and seamless transition of power. This moment calls for healing and reconciliation.
Did you get that? While the socialist called his opponents terrorists, President Trump called for calm and healing. We can expect a steady diet of extremism and anti-Americanism from Biden in the years to come.
The Trump protest at the Capitol yesterday is already being used as a pretext for an unprecedented crackdown on civil liberties. Just in the last several hours, we have heard people in positions of power and authority demand that those who support Donald Trump should no longer be allowed to publish books or use the internet or fly on airplanes. Driving cars, holding jobs, staying in hotels, those will certainly be next, and we're barely exaggerating. In fact, we're predicting it. To justify mind-bending, terrifyingly un-American demands like these, they are, as usual, relying on lies and hysteria. What happened yesterday, they're telling us, wasn't simply that a political protest got out of hand. Instead, they're calling it domestic terrorism. CNN describes it as an insurrection. Chuck Schumer likened it to Pearl Harbor. It was really our generation's 9/11. And needless to say, it was white supremacy.
No one can tell me that if had been a group of Black Lives Matter protesting yesterday, they wouldn't have been treated very, very differently than the mob of thugs that stormed the Capitol.
Well, he's not wrong. That's right. They would have been treated differently. If BLM and Antifa had raided the Capitol, they'd still be there. Liberals allowed these leftists to seize whole swaths of U.S. cities where they declared themselves autonomous. Did Biden or the mainstream press call them insurrectionists? No. If BLM and Antifa had laid siege to Congress, they'd be shacked up in Pelosi's office and she'd be serving them tea tonight. Remember, Biden spent 6 months in his basement before he even condemned the killing, beating, looting, and burning conducted by his militant arms of Antifa and BLM. It took President Trump hours to call for an end to the violence we saw on Wednesday.
Today, to name just one small but revealing example, the Berkshire School in Massachusetts, a boarding school that costs $64,000 a year to attend, sent a letter to parents describing what happened yesterday as, quote, these acts of violence and racism. Now, if you're a literal person tied to outdated Western notions of linear thought and fact, that might confuse you. Racism? Whatever you thought about what happened yesterday, what was racist about it? Well, nothing, of course. There was nothing racist about it. The Berkshire School is lying. So is everyone else on the left. Why are they doing that? Simple. They know that if they keep saying it, history will record it as true. They understand, in other words, the power of language, and that's why they try to control language. They know that words have consequences. This is scary.
What we witnessed yesterday was not dissent. It was not disorder. It was not protest. It was chaos. They weren't protesters. Don't dare call them protesters. They were a riotous mob, insurrectionists, domestic terrorists.
Okay. Nothing says a president for all Americans like calling your political opposition terrorists 2 weeks before you're even sworn in.
But it's not just about what happened yesterday. It's about the last 4 years of Trump and his supporters being demeaned and defamed and, every effort made to destroy his presidency, to discredit the 2016 election, to lie, to use the apparatus of the state, the intelligence agencies, to impeach him. I mean, there was not a dirty trick that Nancy Pelosi and her Democratic Party did not employ against Donald Trump with the full, help of the media. And so that did not go unnoticed by Donald Trump supporters. I travelled around, to various battleground states and talked to them, and they hated the media because they felt that they had been traduced. It's not just about Donald Trump. It's about getting at those 75 million people, the deplorables who are so loathed. You just explained so well why they are.
I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack on the United States Capitol. Like all Americans, I am outraged by the violence, lawlessness, and mayhem. I immediately deployed the National Guard and federal law enforcement to secure the building and expel the intruders. America is and must always be a nation of law and order. The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defiled the seat of American democracy. To those who engaged in the acts of violence and destruction, you do not represent our country. And to those who broke the law, you will pay. We have just been through an intense election, and emotions are high. But now tempers must be cooled and calm restored. We must get on with the business of America. My campaign vigorously pursued every legal avenue to contest the election results. My only goal was to ensure the integrity of the vote. In so doing, I was fighting to defend American democracy. I continue to strongly believe that we must reform our election laws to verify the identity and eligibility of all voters and to ensure faith and confidence in all future elections. Now Congress has certified the results. A new administration will be inaugurated on January 20th. My focus now turns to ensuring a smooth, orderly, and seamless transition of power. This moment calls for healing and reconciliation. 2020 has been a challenging time for our people. A menacing pandemic has upended the lives of our citizens, isolated millions in their homes, damaged our economy, and claimed countless lives. Defeating this pandemic and rebuilding the greatest economy on earth will require all of us working together. It will require a renewed emphasis on the civic values of patriotism, faith, charity, community, and family. We must revitalize the sacred bonds of love and loyalty that bind us together as one national family. To the citizens of our country, serving as your president has been the honor of my lifetime. And to all of my wonderful supporters, I know you are disappointed, but I also want you to know that our incredible journey is only just beginning. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.